everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about a little known secret about catching bass in lakes that have a lot of fishing pressure. Take a look at these videos and see if you can find what's in common. There are going to be some fish catches that took place, and each one, what I want you to notice, will become more noticeable in each video. Take a look.
I got one. Good. I think it's a good one. I didn't see it. It jumped, but I didn't see it. But it feels pretty good. Sounded good. Just gonna bring him right to the net. Five right there, buddy. All right. There's a five. Take that. I'll take that. Yeah, he's a thick one. There we go. Big one? Yeah, feels pretty good. I have to figure it out. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm thinking. He's a little shorter, but he's thick.
Special thanks to Steve Benner on that last fish catch. But have you noticed what's happening when we're catching those fish? You probably noticed that a boat has gone by and there's big wakes coming through. What the heck is happening with all these wakes going by and we're still catching fish? Or actually, that's when we began to catch the fish, when the wake went by. Well, perhaps the most famous example of this is when Jay Yellis won the 2002 Bassmasters Classic. Take a look at this.
A local guy in a pontoon boat, he fired up his motor on his pontoon boat. He cuts right in front of me, and he heads right up the shoreline. I'm getting ready to fish.
And I'm supposed to win the Bassmasters Classic? Oh my goodness.
Stir the water up, and he's thinking, you know, there's no way. And he said, it'd take an act of God to catch a fish on, you know, after that just happened. And his next cast, he catches the biggest fish of the whole classic, not just of that day, of the whole classic.
That's an act of God right there. I just called it. Oh, he's barely hooked. Come here, come here, come here. Oh, yes.
Special thanks to Lynn Dollar for providing that video. If you saw that classic, if you remember anything about it, that was the biggest bass caught in the entire classic, not just that day, and it propelled Jay Yellis to the win. Crazy that that boat got that close to him in that bank, and yet he still caught that 6-pound class bass. So what's happening there, and does it happen everywhere? That's a really good question. So imagine that you are a threadfin shad or a gizzard shad or an alewife, and you're swimming around in your school out there just minding your own business, and maybe you're coming by in your school with your buddies over a point, and as you're swimming by, a boat comes by and makes a big wake, and now it shoves you and your buddies all around. You're getting disoriented, you're not quite sure where you are, you might have been separated from the main school. Well, what's happening and why fishermen are catching fish then is that is a feeding opportunity for bass. It's an opportunity for bass to break bait off of school and grab them. And I first noticed this back in the 90s when I was night fishing for hybrid stripers at Lake Nakamixon. What would usually happen is there was an alewife spawn back then, and still is, in May and June. And, you know, sometime when they started to eat, it might have been like 11 o'clock at night, they'd start bashing and they would get their fill, and then they would just kind of slow down and stop. The alewives are still spawning, and you knew those hybrids were still around, but it would get quiet. And then a boat would come by, and a wake would come through, and all of a sudden you'd hear them hitting again here and there. It would just start them up again. And it was probably for the same reason. It was disorienting the bait fish, and it got those predators excited, and they took advantage of the opportunity. Years later, I was fishing on a point at the same lake, Nakamixon. It was 12 noon. I was throwing a crankbait, and a boat went by me, made a big wake. The wake came through, and as soon as it came through and settled, a bunch of bass, well, not a bunch, but several bass came up and started busting bait right in the middle of the day, right in front of me. Caught some nice fish that day because they became very aggressive, just like that. Beforehand, I was throwing a jig, I was throwing a crankbait. I couldn't get them to go. That boat comes through, the wake disorients all the bait fish, and all of a sudden the fish are feeding and I'm able to catch them. That's what's happening, and it happens on pressured reservoirs throughout the country. The more pressure, the more boat traffic, the more likely this is to happen. Water skiers, jet skiers, fishing boats, pontoon boats, whatever that's going by. You get a lot of that, and what happens is the fish, the predator fish, become accustomed to it. They know that it's going to happen, and they get used to it. And so they make a feeding opportunity out of it. You might be thinking, well, any self-respecting bass, you would think, you know, if a wake like that would go through, that they'd hunker down, it would scare them or get them out of there, swim away from that. And I think that may happen on lakes that get less pressure, you know, lakes that are in more wilderness settings where the fish aren't used to that happening day in and day out. It might put them down. But on reservoirs that get a lot of traffic, like what we have here in Pennsylvania, Lake Wallenpaupack, Beltsville, Blue Marsh, Nakamixon, I'm sure this is true in the southern states and all the others where there's a lot of boat traffic, it's a different story. Oftentimes, as you've seen in the video, it could lead to a feeding opportunity for those fish, and that leads to a catching opportunity for us bass fishermen. Now, this thing can happen any time of day, spring, summer, fall. I notice it happens mostly in the summertime. Usually those summer months are when this is going to be happening the most. But it can happen in spring. I've seen it then, and I've seen it in the fall as well. But that's what we wanted to talk about today in the video. This is an opportunity, and if you keep your head in the game when you're fishing, even though a boat just went by, it could lead to some fish catches. And sometimes there's some of the biggest catches of the day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got something out of it. Give me a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. Trying to get to 10,000 before the end of the year. That's a tall order, but I'm hoping that you'll help me out. Till next time, be safe out there. Hope to see you on the water, and as always, may God bless your fishing endeavors.